Okay, so let's begin. Now, I made it a little bit easier, I hope. I wrote down some of the main points of using each of these things. So we're going to start with the jump ring. Now, it's easy to use. You can use it on flat or curved pieces. You can use it on any thickness piece because you can adjust the size of the ring. These are kind of small, but they come in all different sizes. So of course, the larger the piece, the thicker the piece, probably the thicker the jump ring you're going to want to use, but you can make those adjustments. Now, it's also perfect for pieces with fine attachment points, and I'm going to demonstrate that to you. And one thing about them, they are visible. You're going to see them. All right, so this is what I'm going to do. See these? These are from the Split Pods class with the zipper cane. So if you want to know how to make these, then you can consult that class. Now, this particular piece, I used a different kind of hanging, suspending mechanism. And what I did, because it's thick enough, is drilled directly into the cured clay and then took a very short length of unicord, and so that is the hanging loop. So I made it that way. So that's also an option for you. I like this a lot. I use it a lot. In a case like this, to me, it's kind of the most logical solution to the problem of how do you hang this thing. Okay, so I am going to take these quarter pods. That's what these are. And you can see that they have a raw clay or scrap clay back. Two sides are covered. I did sand the tips off a bit, like so. But what I want to do is I want to attach them something like this so that they will be kind of like that, okay? So I'm going to be making a chain of these split pods. Now, I think that these O-rings are the perfect solution. Now, I glued 2 onto the backs. And you know what? This was, I said it's easy to use. This was really hard. This was very difficult to do. So I came up with an easier way of doing it because why? Why do it the hard way? So I'm going to take, this is Starry Night, and I rolled that through setting number 5. And I am just going to put it on the back, or not the back, excuse me, but the scrap clay side. Of course, I have to first put liquid clay on. All right, now I'm going to take an O-ring, and I'm using ovals, but for this you could use rounds, of course. And I'm just going to press it right there into that clay. Okay, so it's holding it. When I tried to glue them, the O-rings were all over. They were just flipping all over. It was very hard to do, so this is much easier. They still flip a bit. but the clay is going to hold them well enough. All right. Now, I am just going to take and use a very small Kemper cutter, cut 2, and these will cover the rings. But before I do that, I'm going to take some liquid clay and I'm just going to put it there. Okay, so I want that liquid clay to fill the spaces, any space around the ring. Now I will pick it up and press it on. Now, we're going to cover the screw eye pin next. Could I have used it? You know what? Maybe, but I would have had to drill right into that end, and it's pretty fine. So I think, personally, this is a better solution. Okay, try to get that excess clay cut away. You know what? I think that looks pretty good. It'll be a nice, secure way of making my chain. Once these are cured, of course, they're joined. There will be another oval jump ring that goes through each of these. And that's how you get the chainy thing. All right, so there's one application. This will be cured. Okay, so let me set these aside. And let's move on to this. Now this is curved. These are some mud cloth canes. How am I going to do this? I'm going to do the same thing. I have learned my lesson. It is much, much easier to attach these jump rings by pushing them into raw clay than it is to mess with them with glue. I still do that on a flat piece. On a larger piece, maybe I will still do it. But I am finding that this is a little simpler. Okay, so now let us select a round cutter. That one's a little small. Let's take the next one up. I have rolled this gold clay through, I think it was setting 4, 3 or 4. Yeah, it looks like 4. All right, I'll leave that there for a moment. And I am just going to push that right down in there, like so. And I'm going to take and pierce teeny holes. And this will help prevent any air pockets or any bubbles from forming in the back. Now let's trim this away. I will sand this later, so I just want to get most of it off. All right, so this piece will not have any edging. Okay, so where do I want to hang it from? Like that, like this. I think I'll hang it like this. So this will be about, I would say there. Now this is a case where I could use actually a bigger one because this piece is a bit thicker. So let me find a bigger one. You know, this is the one time I can't find a bigger one. Come on. I'm back. I found about 20 of them sitting right next to me. All right. All right. Let's just push that in. Push it in. Little bit of liquid clay right there. And that might be a little small. One day I'll take a picture of my studio and you guys can see why I lose things. And my studio isn't even bad today. Okay. Now I will just push that down. Now maybe it isn't the most elegant looking finish, but it's functional. And I think it's perfectly respectable. Don't think anybody can accuse you of doing sloppy work. And it's effective, okay? So now let me trim some of that excess away again. Because of course, when you add clay and then you push, it's like, oh. Suddenly you have clay where you didn't have clay before. And put your signature cane inside and bake this, and you'll have a nice little mud cloth cane pendant. All right, so let me get that in the oven. I'll be back. All right, let's move on to the screw eye pin. If you guys have watched my classes, you know I use them a lot. For instance, a necklace like this features screw eye pins, and then I use jump rings to connect them. Okay, now the thing about it is, look, they're quite thick. They're not very thin pieces. Here's another one I did. It's quite thick. And so whatever you're drilling into has to be thick enough to accommodate the thickness of the screw. So I would say it shouldn't be something that's very, very thin. I have done it in thin things, but what happens is I then have to add more clay, and I don't know. I think that I'm starting to believe that these the jump rings that I showed you are really a better solution for thin pieces. Okay, so I'm going to set these aside because I'm going to show you the two ways that they are used. And you know what? Let me go back. Okay. Screw eye pins, flat, primarily flat, is what I use them for, or something like totally round like a bead. This would not be right for the oval jump ring. Okay, so it's flat or round. You can attach it to cured pieces. You can embed it during construction. And medium to thick pieces is what it works best for. And the screw eye pins are visible in the piece. Okay. All right, so what I'm going to show you is using these. These are from my book. You know what? I love this. I'm going to do a class on this because, you know, I forgot about them. I've had them forever. I forgot about them, but they definitely are in my book. All right, so let's take this guy. Now, the first thing I'm going to do is determine where I want the bead to hang from. And you know what? I think I'll just put it right here. So it'll be suspended from that point. So I'm going to take my needle tool and just make a pilot hole. Like so. And now I will take a very fine drill, and I'm going to drill down into the bead. Now, sometimes I just take it and I go directly. I just push it right into the clay. Now, in a case like this, I've got this seam right here. So I am a little bit concerned that if I don't drill just the right way, that perhaps the screw eye pin will split the clay at that point. So it's better for me to just slowly drill a hole. Okay, good. So now I have a little hole drilled. Now let's pick one of these, and I seem to have two sizes. Yeah, I do. I'm going to pick this one because it's nice and long. I'm going to grip it with my pliers and just start twisting. Oops. Oh yeah, I just started twisting and it popped out. I'm pushing a bit now. I wasn't pushing at all before. And you know what? I got to push because I have to get the tip, which is down there beyond the place, the area that I actually drilled into. And I'm just going to put a bit of glue. See, it's not even in there yet, on the threads. I could be wrong, but I think it helps hold it in. Now I'm pushing because I realize, well, it's not in there at all. Sometimes it just grips and it just pulls itself right through. And sometimes it acts like this and gives me a headache. Come on. You can do it. You can do it. You can do it. And I haven't been able to determine why that is. Okay, sometimes I know why it is. Sometimes the actual screw doesn't have a point. The ones that refuse, absolutely refuse to work their way through, generally speaking, have no point. They are pointless. All right, so now I have my little screw eye pin in. All I'm going to do is attach an oval jump ring, and then I would be able to wear it. Okay, set this aside. Now, these pieces are cured. So, of course, this was cured. The one thing I don't do is I don't put it into raw clay. And the reason why I don't is a simple one, because it's almost impossible to get enough clay around the threads. Okay, and generally it tends to ruin whatever I'm working on. Okay. I mean, there are exceptions, I'm sure. Okay, so what I'm going to do now, you know, I grabbed this because I was going to put it here to drill, but you know what it's going to do? Of course, it's going to scratch it up. So, nope, that's not the right solution. This is. A good old IKEA trivet. Now, what I'm going to do is I take a U-gouge and I'm going to drill a channel in this cured piece. And the channel is, it will receive the screw, okay? And this isn't a V-gouge, it is a U-gouge. You know, when I carve, I usually, 99% of the time, I am using a V-gouge. But I'm using a U-gouge for this purpose. I don't use the U-gouge nearly as much. Now, in situations where you have to eliminate a lot of clay at one time, U-gouge is pretty effective. I've done that when I've gotten myself into situations and I've had to remove a lot of cured clay. I will use a blade to try to cut it away, but I'll use a large U-gouge, and boy, you can get rid of a lot of clay that way. Okay, so there's the receptacle. Now I put a bit of glue in the channel. I drop the eye pin in like so. Da, da, da. Da, da, da. And I push it down using a little deli paper. Deli paper. Like so. And now I will cover the back with this clay that I rolled through setting number 5, and then I textured by rolling it through again with my sponge. Let's take the liquid clay. I always put liquid clay on the threads. I want that screw totally captured in clay or liquid clay. I probably should have sanded the back first. Bad me. All right. That's going to arc it a bit. Let's see if I can sort of mimic the actual curve. I wasn't so good at it. All right, so there's the backing clay. Gonna take my needle, doink, 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 doink. Okay, and now I will take this and trim around. This is, of course, the simplest way to back. Might be nice to have a little, like create a bezel for it. Take a little more clay and then wrap it around and create a bezel. I think that would look nice. And there. Now this is cured, this gets cured, and then I will add the oval jump ring. All right, so here are the two examples. Cured, cured plus raw. All right, I'll be back. All right, so finally, the third sort of common finding we're going to talk about are pierced earring posts. I use these as a means of making a loop on the back of a pendant. Now, let's go over. It's easy to attach to cured pieces. I would not put this on raw clay, not the way we're going to work, flat or curved. The piece can be of any thickness, and what I like about it is you don't see it, it's invisible. So let's get started. Now, this piece is curved, so I'm going to use one of these on the back of it. And, you know, this I just pulled out as an example. You could do it on a donut. I'm going to back it in black, and I'm going to take the black and wrap it up around the sides. So what I've done is I've sanded the sides, and then I've knocked off any corner. This corner right here, I just knocked it off with my sanding sponge. All right, so let's begin. First thing you have to do is determine where it's going to hang from. Do I want the waves running this way, or diagonally? Yeah, maybe up and down, something like that. Okay. All right. So let me put a little dab of glue on. And press the post to the glue. And you're going to hold it for a second or two. I've talked about this before. You want to make sure you glue the finding to the clay, not to the glue. All right. There we go. Now I'm going to take my clay that I rolled through setting number 5, the pasta machine, and I will select a cutter. It's too small. That's good. And I'm going to cut a disc out. Okay. Like so. Now let's apply our liquid clay, and I want to make sure I don't get any glue on my brush. Now, a pretty common question about liquid clay and a brush is how do you clean it? Well, if I wanted to clean it, I guess I would use alcohol. But since the only thing I use this brush for is liquid clay, it never gets cleaned. I just don't think it's necessary. Because, of course, the liquid clay must cure to get hard. So as long as I keep it like this, it's fine. All right, now let's do it. I think that'll be a good spot. And I will take my needle and pierce all around. and then bring the clay from the back up along the side. Now let me work my blade and see how I'm pointing the tip of the blade kind of up and not down. Well, by doing that, I have a much better chance of not smearing this raw black clay into the face of the curved cured piece. And now I will cure this. And you know the way I'll cure it is I will just take it and push it down into a bed of baking soda. Okay, so let me do that. I will be back. All right, I'm back. This is cured. Now, this is one that I already did. It's just a flat cured disc, so you can see what it looks like on the back. All right, you see. Oops. Sorry. Yeah, you see? Oh, hello. I'll even get closer, but you can see that I just took the post and I bent it into a loop. All right. The stuff is really hard. Really hard. So this is cured. Now, the thing about posts is that they have this tiny notch there, right? And that's what the back, the earring back, it kind of slides on that and it kind of catches. So what we have to do, because that's a weak spot, so I get rid of it. And I have flat nose pliers with teeth. I like the ones with teeth. And what I'm going to do is just bend it a few times. And that's really all it takes to break it off. And I got a little tiny metal piece that I'm going to get rid of because it's going to find its way into my clay. Now I'm going to take my round nose pliers, my ancient round nose pliers, and I'm going to try to make a nice loop, which isn't so easy because this stuff is tough. This wire is very hard, so I'm going to bend it up toward the top this time. All right. Ooh. I told you it's kind of tough. Let's see if I can actually just kind of take the end of that wire and push it right into the clay. That would be the best. And I think I did. Well, I got the tip of it in, so that looks fine. To me, that looks great. Let me see if I can get, I think this might be too big. That's too big. So what I have to use is what I used here, which is a bayonet clasp, 5 strands. I believe I got this from Fire Mountain Gems. Anyway, bayonet clasp, you push in, you turn, and it releases. Okay. So let me, and the nice thing is look how fine that is, just went right through. So let's engage it, push, twist, and it is on. So there is one, and here was the second one. Okay, so if you're going to use these little posts, you really do have to bear in mind what you're going to string it on, right? If I wanted to string it on this, then I would have to bend the wire over this. In other words, it would have to be in there, and then when I twist, I would have to twist the wire around these 5 wires. Okay, not the easiest thing to do. All right, so there we have it. That is the third way of creating hangers for pendants and earrings. Okay, I'll be back. Okay, so let's go over what we did. We used jump rings first to create this little chain. All right, and this guy, mudcloth pendant. Then we moved on to screw eye pins, these guys, and we sunk one into a bead, cured bead, and then we embedded one into this cabochon. Finally, we used pierced earring posts. Probably the most unusual finding to use for this application. And we made this guy, and this guy is just an example. So what we talked about, you see these are invisible, the posts, and the others you will actually see, right? You can see the screw eye pins. You can see, ooh, it's all tangled up. You can see this. And you even got to see my messy studio. Oh my goodness. You're probably wondering how I get anything done in this place. Anyway, so that is class, and I hope that what I've taught you makes it just maybe a little bit easier for you to suspend your pendants and your earrings, because I gave you a few ways of doing it that maybe you didn't know before. Okay, so that's it. Thanks for watching. Until we meet again, I'm Donna Kato. Bye.